35. This is going to be a quick one because the sun is shining. So let's make this happen. This, as I said in class, is a sort of preview of what your homework, rather what your quiz is going to look like. So the first section here, making the participles, I'll give you the principal parts. You give me the two participles. So we've done all of this in class together, but it bears repeating, of course. That to make the present active participle, this is your ens, ns. Salve, Johnny. Johnny, if you want to flex a little bit on these participles right now, you can just, jump in. You could just throw participles in the chat. It is entirely up to you. If you want to dab on them a little bit. So for the verb peto, right, for any verb, we basically are taking off the re, replacing it with ns. So for peto, petere, we get petains, which means seeking. And we get, for perfect passive, it's just the fourth principal part. So we have petitus. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Which means sought, right? So the present active participle is the ing, right? We make it from the first and second principal parts. Perfect passive, as always, anything perfect passive, fourth PP. Sono sonare. Hey, Dante. Sono sonare is to call or to make a sound. So the present active participle, hey, let's get it, is sonans, which is calling or making a noise. And sonitus, which means called or made a noise, you could say. For accio, these are the ones to watch out for. Third IO and fourth are the tricky ones. Because you can't just take off the RE. You also have to add an E to the mix as well. So what you get is accianes, which is summoning. And then perfect passive, fourth principal part, accitus, which means summoned. Compleo, to fill. No worries, Johnny. Always good to see you. Complains is filling. And completus, filled. For dirigo, we've got dirigains. Oops. Whoa. Dirigains, which is steering. And directus, which is steered. What is happening? Got my volume way cranked up. I can't even see it. All right, and last participle. Salve. Last participle, we've got konkutiyo. So we have to watch out there because it's konkutiyo. It's got the IO, which means... Sorry, I got to get my windows all situated here. It is so nice to be home on the Barty box. There we go. So for konkutiyo, we're going to get konkutianes, right, which is shaking or hitting. And then for perfect passive, fourth principal part, konkusus, which is shaken. Angelo. Oh my gosh. Big Willie's here. We got some visitors, some old friends. All right, so the mooing cow. Oh my gosh. You guys blowing up my stream right now? I love it. Cow is waka waka. First declension. I shouldn't even be doing this. This is so beneath. Wakai, wakarum, wakis, wakas, wakis. I love it. Good to have everybody. For the noun adjective here, to make it moo-ing, we got the quality here. Karina, once we're done here, we can hit the reservoir. I love everything that's happening. So for moo-ing, we need present active, right? So we're going to take moo-gio, moo-gere, and we're going to make it moo-giens. Moo-gientis would be your genitive. Moo-gienti, moo-gientem. And then for the ablative singular, you could have moo-giente or moo-gienti. You could have either one. This is showing me having 2 viewers, but I have a sneaking suspicion we got a few more people in here. For the plurals, we've got moo-gientes, moo-gientium, moo-gientibus, moo-gientes, and moo-gientibus. Mooing. We're all just mooing. Dante, what's the verb for oink? To make the sound of a pig. Grunio. Grunio, grunire. Do they actually have coaxo like the Greek? The coax. Okay. So our sentence translation, obviously the more difficult section, you got to put it all together. So Jupiter here is my subject. Amphitrionem in the accusative, he's my direct object. And then our participle here is simulans. Simulans is present active. It's in the nominative case, ons, right? And then we have alkmenam in the accusative, and visitabat is my verb here at the end, imperfect. So remember, participles are just adjectives. They're just describing some word. So because simulans is nominative, it's got to be describing Jupiter. Simulare means to pretend to be someone. So pretending to be, or simulating, amphitrionem, Jupiter visitabat alkmenam. So we could say Jupiter pretending to be Amphitryon visited Alcmena. That's one way we could translate it. We could say Jupiter, you want a just chatting stream? We can do that. Jupiter who was pretending to be Amphitryon. Or if we want to get even fancier, we could throw in the word while. While pretending to be Amphitryon, Jupiter visited Alcmena. All of those are 100% acceptable translations, as long as you are making it clear that Jupiter is the one who is pretending to be someone. The 8 p.m. streams. I'm so predictable. I'm glad. You can go back if you want to review anything. There's, sadly enough, a year of this on Twitch that you could go back and watch. Holy, this pandemic. Holy. Amphitryon, pardon my typo here. Amphitryon. So he is my subject now in number 2. Alkmenam in the accusative. Eyoa in the ablative, and grawidam in the accusative, as well as factam in the accusative. And then our verb here is salutavit. So our main sentence, our basic sentence here, Amphitryon's my subject, salutavit's my verb. Amphitryon greeted Alcmena. That's the sentence right there. Amphitryon greeted Alcmena. Now, Alcmena, accusative feminine singular, is being described as factam grawidam. This expression means to become pregnant. So Amphitryon greeted Alcmena, who had been made pregnant, who had become pregnant, who was pregnant, right? Who had been made pregnant, Eiowe, by Jupiter. And that sentence kind of mirrors one of the sentences that we read a couple of weeks ago. So we've seen that expression before, to become grawida someone. Not someone, but someone. That's the preposition that you use. Okay, guys, we can do Latin 5 next year. Just come to my streams. We'll read whatever you want. Amphitryon greeted Alcmena, who'd been made pregnant by Jupiter, who was pregnant from Jupiter. As long as you're making it clear that Alcmena is the pregnant one and not Amphitryon or Jupiter, we're good to go. This sentence we read, most classes we read together in class. Hercules is the subject. Fratrem and lacrimantem are both accusative. There's a big ac for all of you in the chat. And then audiuit, third singular perfect. And then our verb here, excitatus est, third singular perfect passive. So always, always, always anchor your translation in the subject and the verb. Hercules audiuit. Hercules heard. The thing that he heard was his fratrem. He heard his brother, and his brother, his fratrem, is described as lacrimantem. He heard his brother crying. You could say he heard his crying brother, he heard his brother crying, he heard his brother who was crying, whichever one you want. I know it's his brother. I know that lacrimantem is describing the fratrem because of the cases. And I know it's the ing because it's that ens entis participle, lacrimantem. So he heard his brother crying and was, I never know what this sounded, and was woken, was awakened, was woken up, and was awakened. I don't know, whichever one sounds best to you in English. Basically, he woke up. He heard his brother crying and he woke up. This has to be passive, though, because if you were to make this active, excitavit means to wake someone else up. So it's not that he heard his brother crying and woke him up. He was sleeping, and he heard his brother crying, and he was the one who was awakened. That's why it doesn't quite sound as good in English, but we would just say he woke up. But in Latin, if you were to say that in the active, it would mean he woke someone else up. That makes sense. And then our last sentence here, serpentes. They are my... oh, look at this. Look at this. The assist in the chat. No, it's awesome. Trust me, I'll take any participation I can get. I don't care who you are. You're here when you hear your family. What is that? Is that Olive Garden? Oof. Should not keep them in business. Mortuae sunt. So I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on mortuae sunt. Let's just pretend it's an adjective. And all of you older kids can talk to me about deponent verbs. But my 8th graders aren't quite there yet. So the snakes are the subject, the snakes. They're described as strangulati, so perfect passive, strangled by the boy, are dead. Or we could say died. Technically, it could be either one, because they really mean the same thing. So we could say the snakes strangled by the boy. We could say the snakes, it is the 4th PP, let's go. The snakes which were, or which have been strangled by the boy. Or if you want to get real fancy, you could say after they were strangled by the boy. After is a word that you can throw in with participle sometimes. So to keep it real simple, you could just go with the snakes strangled by the boy are dead. And that is about as simple of a translation as you can get. All right, and we are a verb synopsis away. So me get all my formatting done here. So we got some... Which Tomas am I seeing? It's a happy birthday. That's okay. Don't let that stop you. I don't. Thomas P. Get all my boxes? I'm sure I do. I'm sure I was that mean guy in the hallway one time who yelled at you to get to homeroom, and that's the only thing you remember about me. Those are always my favorite stories from kids. Oh yeah, you were that mean guy who yelled at me. Oh, that's funny. All right, so our verb synopsis here, akio, akire, so fourth conjugation. Oh, you know it. First plural, masculine, so we'll save the masculine for when we get down to the bottom here. We've got akimus and akimur. We summon and we are summoned. Because it's fourth conjugation, akiebamus, we got to have the I and the E. And akiebamor. And then future, can't use bobi boo, so we just do the I and the E. Akiemos and akiemor. Right. And for those of you who like to keep it color-coded, Amy's here. First two principal parts for the top half. Perfect active. Let's see what happens in the chat. Perfect active. Akiwimos. Nice. Aki. Should I summon Amy? Akio Amy. She just straight up went upstairs. She was having none of it. Akiweramos. I heard the door close. Akiweramos. Amy's like, yeah, okay. Bye, everyone. Sometimes it do be like that. All right, here's where masculine is going to come into play because we're dealing with masculine plural. We're going to take akitos, and we're going to make it well done, Tomas. Akiti. And I just love calling anybody named Thomas Tomas. I know it's not actually Tomas, but there's just something about the sound of Tomas. Akitisumus, akitieramus, akitieremus. And those are our last principal part. So we make those pink. There we go. Last two, the let's go. We have our imperatives, our commands. So to make the singular one, we chop off the RE. So aki. And to make it plural, akita. Jaden, you are not going to have a full synopsis on the quiz, no. For the participles, well, I mean, you're going to have the participles, right? And you're going to have sentences that have these forms. So while it's not a complete synopsis, you don't have to fill in a whole synopsis. You really need to be able to recognize all of these different forms. I just don't want to use up too much time on just doing a verb synopsis. Pretty close. You've got the IE, but you're just basing it off the wrong stem. You're basing it off the wrong principal part. So it's accientes. Those are people who are summoning. No worries. And then perfect passive, fourth principal part, is just akiti. There we go. I cannot believe we have double-digit viewers for a Wednesday afternoon worksheet review. But Twitch, I mean, they're going to get me on the phone right now. They're going to be like, hello, partner? Yes, hi. All right, guys. Any questions or anything before we take off?